Live from Studio B, this is episode 3 of Proudly Made in Canada by Local Laundry. I am one of your hosts and co-owners of Local Laundry, Connor Kern, and with me is...
Dustin Paisley.
A little farther away from the microphone, but also co-host and also co-owner of Local Laundry. Good afternoon, good evening, and maybe good night, depending on what time you're listening to. Hopefully listen to episode 1 and 2, and if you have, that means you're back. And if not, welcome. This is a podcast by co-owners Dustin and Connor where we talk about all things made in Canada. Today, Dustin's opening up some boxes that we got. Tell us about these boxes, Dustin.
Well, we've got an upcoming market, and at the market we need lots of product. So we got to make sure that we have it readily available for our shoppers.
So, as most of you guys know, everything we make is proudly made in Canada. But the fun part of our business is everything's made in Toronto, and our warehouse is in Toronto. And that means that everything gets shipped from Toronto, which is fine. It's great. But sometimes every time someone places an order online, it gets shipped from a warehouse in Toronto. But when we have markets, we have to have gear on hand in order to sell at the market, so we have to always ship it. So we have 2 boxes. Maybe this is everything.
I don't know. Got 2 big boxes.
So we got 2 big boxes. One of the problems that we had was we sent one to our store in Canmore. Shout out to Mountain Mercantile, great owners and operators in Canmore, big supporters of all things local, and the boxes just never showed up. They just messaged me. They're like, "Hey, it's been about a week or 2 since we ordered. Usually doesn't take this long. Any idea where our boxes are?" And I said, "No. Let me dive in." And we checked, and they had been delivered somewhere in Calgary, not in Canmore. So I was like, you know what? We got it. Like, they're losing sales. We got to send another one. So we sent another bunch of boxes out to them. So we're trying to track down this other box.
Swedish fish.
Also, if you guys have ever ordered anything from us, a big thing that we like to do is add a little candy, nice little surprise in every little box. One of the things that we like to do is, again, keep it Canadian. Everything, all the candy we produce is Canadian made. Maynard's, even though it's Canadian made, we still call them Swedish fish. We still put the Swedish fish in there, so they're Swedish fish, but they are Canadian Swedish fish. What was in the other one?
More stuff. Hoodies, sweaters.
Did you get an order? Did you get a thing saying there'd be more boxes?
We have shipping notification. I think there's one more order coming.
Okay.
It was supposed to arrive yesterday, but it was snowy, so maybe that held it up.
Okay. Well, we got a good chunk, and I still got a bunch of stuff from the previous market, so we'll have enough for this. So
on the docket today, we got a few things to talk about. But one of the pieces we want to talk about is the ever-changing landscape of fashion and retail. And I know you're probably thinking, what are 2 idiots who started a clothing company going to teach me about fashion and retail? However, there have been some very interesting developments, I think, over the past couple of years, recently, or more recently this past year, in terms of how social media and influencers and brands are really starting to change the landscape. So, Connor, tell me a little bit about the article that you found.
Yeah, so I found an article. What was it in? Star Metro Calgary. You know those free little newspapers they hand out at bus stops and subways and restaurants and stuff. I was out for breakfast with my parents. Both my parents are entrepreneurs themselves. They own an Irish pub here, so they're in the food world. And the title of this article, it's in the fashion section. People are eating up fast food fashion like hotcakes. Fans wear their McDonald's socks and Pizza Hut pie toppers with pride. This was by Tara Deschamps out of the Toronto Star. And basically the article just highlights the ever-growing fashion space with fast food restaurants, so fast food fashion. I don't know if you guys saw last year, McDonald's pushed a big thing with like McDonald's fries shirts and Big Mac shirts. They sold out.
Mm-hmm.
They've been crazy. And on this article, there's a picture of these high tops, or what Pizza Hut calls pie tops, and they're just like high top sneakers made with like Pizza Hut branding. and I sent it to Dustin. And what are your kind of thoughts? What's your hot take?
Well, it's really interesting, right? Because you're seeing a lot of challenges in the traditional retail space. You look at brands like Forever 21 has closed doors. They're closing down. You look at brands like H&M. They're under a lot of pressure for mostly environmental reasons. And then you look at traditional brands like Hudson's Bay Company. They're completely changing their retail store. Sears in Canada has now closed down. Roots is really struggling. Their stock is near an all-time low. So it's really interesting to see kind of the whole environment. And I think, to be honest, from my perspective, what we're seeing is that the barrier to entry for clothing is incredibly low.
Yeah.
We can speak from experience, right?
Yeah.
We were able to start a clothing company with zero experience. We didn't know anything, and we made it to, well, now we're over $1 million in sales. So we've gotten somewhat far. We've still got a long way to go, but I think it just shows that if you have a company, any person, any brand, any influencer nowadays, they can come in and they can very easily start up their own clothing brand, and they have the reach already, right? And they can go direct to consumer online. So they're completely cutting out this whole side of the retail chain, and it's great to buy from a company like Roots, but what we're seeing is people are starting to buy from people and brands who they just think are cool, or who they associate with or have value from.
That they're already familiar with.
Right, and we're seeing a lot in the influencer space, right? There's a lot of influencers who are launching their own brands, whether they're a rap star or whatever it is that they do. They just have a lot of influence.
Yeah, you're starting to see what's the fella on the Raptors? Man, I'm a big Raptors fan. Anyways, one of the lower level guys who's not a huge star. He's not signing, he's not signing major deals with like Nike or Under Armour, so he just decided to make his own label, right? And he's not making a ton of money off it, but it's more like a side project. It's a bit of fun for him.
But you look at that, right? Someone buys one of his sweaters or one of his T-shirts, and that means that they've taken away from maybe another brand. Maybe they would have bought a Root sweater, but instead they've gone and they've bought this basketball player sweater. So it's just interesting to see, and with the way that internet and everything is these days, you can buy something from your phone and it shows up at your doorstep. So the entire, I think, I hate to use the word ecosystem, but the entire landscape for the fashion industry or retail market has changed.
But you still go to the mall a lot.
I do.
How often do you go to the mall?
I only go to the mall because my wife drags me.
But it's a nice family outing.
You're right.
You got a little baby.
When you have kids, it's a little different. You kind of get out of the house. But we would go, I mean, if it was her choice, we'd probably go to maybe 2 times a week, right? And you're out of the house. You go to a big mall that has a food court, and you kind of shop around. She's a big deal hunter, so she gets great deals on stuff.
So how often are you buying stuff from the mall?
Me personally, very, very,
well, as a household.
As a household?
Yeah.
Maybe once a week. And to be honest, it's mostly kid stuff.
It's mostly kid stuff, yeah.
When you have kids, right? Kids are always growing out. But it's still interesting, and my favorite thing to do is wander around and just kind of check out the trends. I'll pop my head into some of the stores like Roots to see kind of what they're making up and what they're doing. And I'm mostly curious. I like to just watch the people and see what the people are wearing, see what the people are buying, see when people are walking around with bags, what kind of bags do they have. And it's just fascinating to me to see kind of what the trends are and what people's purchasing power is going towards.
And so going back to this like fast food fashion, do you think this is just kind of like a trend, or do you think that we're going to see more and more bigger brands that aren't traditionally in fashion get into fashion?
We're going to see more and more.
You think?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't they, right? And the article talks about how on the restaurant side, sales are kind of stagnant, right? They're seeing 1-2% growth, and they want more. And more specifically, their shareholders are demanding more. So they're looking at different avenues where they can do that. And it's funny because in the Instagram world now, everything is instant gratification, right? You want to have that thing that everyone's talking about. So if you can go and post on Instagram that you landed some of these pie tops, shit, you're cool, right? Like you got in. And so there's this whole other piece of the market that didn't get in because they only sold limited amount of quantities. They sold out pretty quickly. So it's just kind of this urgency to be buying these things. So I think completely these brands are going to start to push more and more. And it's not necessarily, I think, just clothing. And who's to say that McDonald's couldn't make, like, a Big Mac kayak or a big, like, whatever they want to make, right? There is a market for it, which is crazy.
Yeah. Do you think it's a good opportunity for us in local laundry and to get these brands in a Canadian-made clothes?
I think it's definitely an interesting opportunity. I think it is a chance for us as a clothing company to potentially partner with some of these brands to make something that is a little bit more meaningful, more impactful. Being a brand that's all about building community, that's supporting charities, that's made in Canada. I think we have values. So I think if you find the right brand, it totally makes sense to have that appeal. Because the thing that my issue, which I know you'll share the same issue about these, is it's very much they're going to grab just off the shelf, straight out of the factory, crappy kind of t-shirt. Whereas, hopefully there are some brands out there that want to make sure that they're aligning their brand with a brand that is in line with theirs.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, because that's exactly what I don't like about this. They say here, the McDonald's white T-shirt emblazoned with fries is $20, and that's sold out within hours. If they're selling it for $20, they're probably buying it for $5, maybe maximum $10.
Yeah,
maybe even less. That must mean it's coming from overseas.
$3.
Yeah, it's coming, probably from an unethical place. But I wonder. And then they go on to say that they had a blanket, like a Big Mac blanket, and it's sold a lot slower than the T-shirts because of the higher price point. I wonder if that means. Do you think that there'd be brands out there willing to go with the Canadian made, even though it's at a higher price point? Because if local laundry were to do that, we'd be selling that T-shirt for $45, $50.
Great question. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. But in my opinion, I think if that is the case, I believe it's more of them trying to basically align their values versus using that as an opportunity to gain an extra revenue source. For me, you look at McDonald's, it does go against their values, right? Because they talk about being quality.
Yeah.
They talk about high quality ingredients. They talk about, all these pieces that they've added to their value chain. And then you look at their clothing and they're sourcing, I would assume, a $3 T-shirt, right? So that is a bit of a misalignment. So I think you're absolutely right. The higher price point does deter customers. A customer is going to look at it and say, a $20 T-shirt from McDonald's, that's nothing. I'm going to get it. That's basically what I would spend at McDonald's getting a big meal anyway. Versus if it's a $40 or $45 T-shirt, I think that definitely does change people's minds. So it has to be the right fit because McDonald's is more of a value-based fast food chain.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily all about
go there to buy cheap burgers.
The most premium, right? Whereas if you find the right brand to align with, it is more of that premium piece.
So one brand we thought of, and this is just starting the conversation was A&W. They're, so for those that don't know, A&W Canada operates separately from A&W America, and they've been doing a great job, with all their ads saying how it's all Alberta beef, hormone free. They launched the Beyond Burger, and they've been doing really well. I think they would be a good partner if local laundry, so anyone working at A&W. You hear us, but I wonder, and then we're always kind of balancing that because we're terrified of not being cool anymore. Do you think if we came out with an A&W Canadian-made T-shirt that maybe it raised money for charity or something, do you think that would affect local laundry's brand in the perception of our community?
That's a good question. I don't think so. As long as you do it right.
As long as you do it right and you align, and it's with an organization that kind of aligns with our values.
If we're shelling out $20 T-shirts just to have an A&W logo on it, then absolutely, right? But if you come up with something that's quality, that is actually cool and is a nice piece that I think people want to wear, I think absolutely you can make it work. I mean, you look at these pie tops from Pizza Hut, they're pretty legit, right? Like, who's to say that it couldn't be a Reebok sneaker that Pizza Hut is co-branding with, right? So I think there's always opportunities for brands to do those types of collaborations.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the one thing about our collaborations is we're pretty strict on is we don't do company logos, which I think has a lot of appeal. If when companies do collaborations with us, it doesn't look like their typical stuff, because we always kind of say, if you want to do a logo, just go to your local print shop and print your logo on on a shitty $20 t-shirt, you know. But with us, it's a premium product. It's a premium, design that kind of shares a story instead. I just got great feedback from the team over at Shaw. They got their. We did some executive sweaters.
Mm-hmm.
Came up with They had this big executive retreat. All the CEO, the VPs, and we did an organic cotton bamboo sweater with them. Black in a natural cream color, and they just emailed me today. They're huge feedback.
Amazing.
The executive team love them.
Amazing.
Organic cotton. It's a lot more sustainable. It's super soft and yeah, they loved it. And again, it didn't say Shaw. It doesn't have their logo. We kind of created, a different kind of design for them. And yeah, so I think if we did it right, we could do it pretty well. Speaking of which, going back to this box, why don't we talk about some of the things in this box of market gear? And
Tell me which piece you're most excited about and why.
Sorry for the tape noises. The piece I'm most excited about is definitely the bamboo, right? So we came out with two pieces this fall that is kind of what I like to think is the next generation of local laundry, and that's organic cotton bamboo sweaters. Most of our classic stuff is made with a 50-50 cotton polyester blend, but we decided to go with bamboo. It's a little bit more premium fabric, but it's just so soft. It's the softest thing ever. So my favorite is definitely the zip up, the bamboo zip up with the YYC embroidered design. Bamboo, like I said, takes a lot less water. It grows like a weed because it pretty much is a weed, and it's a lot more functional for garments as a fabric because of its naturally antimicrobial properties. We don't have to wash it as much, and believe me, I've lived in this bamboo zip up for a while. And yeah, so I'm just really excited. I think Made in Canada was kind of the first step in adding, making our brand and our company a little bit more, building that longevity in it, making more about quality. I think the next step is finding those sustainable materials, and I think bamboo cotton is kind of the natural, no pun intended, natural first step. What do you think?
I agree. I really love the fabric. If you've ever worn a organic bamboo cotton sweatshirt, you would agree. I haven't taken mine off either. I don't want to wear another sweater. I've got a bunch of sweaters in my closet that have been completely neglected and haven't been worn in weeks since I've gotten my hands on the bamboo. And it's just a really incredibly comfortable piece, which I think is very versatile. So it's a piece that I love in terms of just comfort and function. But I think also when you look at the environmental aspects, I also think it's a great fabric to work with.
Have you had a chance to look at the local crews yet?
Absolutely.
You have?
I love them.
So tell everyone what the local crew is all about.
So every year we come up with a new local crew piece. Connor's opening up one right now. So the newest local crew piece it's an all black bamboo organic cotton crew neck sweatshirt. And we kind of tried to be a little subtle with it. So our local crew necks will always have our little our patch at the bottom that talks about the local crew, which I think is a nice touch. Yeah. But what I love about it is the very subtle black embroidery of the maple leaf on the left chest, and it's a little bit of black on black. Black on black, so it's really sleek and. Yeah, it's just a really, really nice piece.
Because, and like we've kind of talked about, this is really what we feel is the future of local laundry. A lot of our designs traditionally have been kind of bold and in your face with our YYC and our CAN. And we're always going to have our YYC and CAN. They're not going anywhere. But, we wanted to kind of come out with a line that kind of elevates everything we kind of believe in, our 5 pillars of community and takes that to kind of the next level, which is, a little bit more subtle branding, higher quality fabrics, a little bit of a nicer cut, and it's going to be a little bit of a premium piece, premium price. And, I think people are just going to really like them. They're going to be pretty limited. We're not going to be selling them in every store, mostly just online. And that kind of brings up another point. Another big thing just happened this past week.
Tell us.
price increase.
That's true.
So as of November 1st, all of our prices went up by 10, sometimes 15%. How did you feel about that?
I think it was necessary. When you look at the cost of Canadian manufacturing, it is going up, right? There's a number of reasons for that. But one of the big ones is labor costs, right? In the past couple of years, you've seen a lot of the provinces in Canada increase their minimum wage, which is it's good, right? It means people are being paid more. But that also means an increase in production costs and an increase in cost of goods. So for us, there's a lot of factors that come into this, but we ultimately raised our prices on the garments to basically ensure that we're able to be able to still operate this company sustainably, right? Our costs are going up. We unfortunately have to pass those costs on to our customer. But the other thing that this sort of encompasses is our approach now to trying being a more sustainable brand. So within that price increase includes, in the future, having in place more environmentally friendly practices. So as an example, eliminating the plastic from our packaging and exploring other more organic and more sustainable practices.
Yeah. I'll tell you how I felt. I was terrified when we raised the prices. I was terrified to tell our retailers. I was terrified to tell our customers. I think every time, it's all fun and games until it comes down to money. And then it's like everyone gets really serious about money. And money's scary when it's a business, right? Because you almost feel bad charging more.
It's true.
You always feel guilty,
absolutely.
Oh man, I'm sorry guys, but we got to charge more. Don't hate us. But we see all these things as a positive, right? We think it's great that labor costs are going up. Right. I think, we kind of talked about this last episode about if you're a made in Canada brand, you're a premium brand. And there's a reason for that, right? Just from the labor costs alone. We think it's good that our workers are getting paid more. Why is that not a good thing? We think it's good that they're getting paid a livable wage. We think it's good that thare getting benefits. We think it's good that they can come into a work environment and not be afraid. Not be afraid that the building's going to work down. Not afraid that they're going to be work unreasonable hours or get beaten if they don't meet their unrealistic quotas.
Right.
And then they're taking all that extra money that they're earning and they're going back, and what are they doing with it? They're putting it right back into our very own Canadian economy. They're going back and supporting all the other local businesses. And then that business that we're supporting, our manufacturer, they're supporting all the other Canadian, the dye house and all the Canadian shipping and all the little pieces that fall into that. So yeah, it was definitely scary, but I think
it's ironic though, because we had a phenomenal week last week for online sales.
Yeah,
we really did. With the price increase.
Well, I think it was a lot of people trying to get in before
That's
November
true,
1st.
I should say, but we still did have a fantastic day on November 1st.
Yeah.
With the price increase.
Yeah, and then of course Love YYC Day. And,
yes. That was a big one too.
It's been fun to see, and it's really great when people kind of understand, this is what a t-shirt should cost. This is what a sweater should cost, and this is what clothing should cost. We shouldn't be able to buy clothes for pennies.
Or McDonald's t-shirts for $20.
No, we absolutely should not.
Right.
But Love YYC Day happened. And that was great. Love YYC Day always kind of creeps up on us. What's more Love YYC than a YYC
True.
Design Canadian made. I never feel like we do quite a good enough job. I think in the future we're going to do a better job. But this year it kind of announced and kicked off a really great partnership that we're pretty excited about. Tell us all about it.
What's the new partnership?
What's the new partnership?
I don't know which one you're talking about. We have so many in the works.
The one that kicked off Love YYC Day was
CBC.
Thank you. My initials. Connor Bernard Kern, also known as Canadian Broadcast Corporation, the CBC. So we reached out a couple months ago. We saw a lot of CBC merchandise, and we just kind of wondered, hey, do you have any Canadian-made CBC merchandise? They said they had a few, but they were looking to get some more, which is great. They wanted to move that in that direction, and it kind of fits right back to everything we were talking about. CBC, not a traditional retail fashion company, but there's been CBC merchandise for years.
Right.
I don't know if you're a big fan of the the CBC morning show, the Eye Opener, David Gray and Angela Knight, they used to have like these CBC coffee mugs they would give away to like callers, and people go nuts over them.
Absolutely.
So it kind of does fall back into it. And we reached out, said we'd love to, get CBC merchandise on some Canadian-made garments, and they agreed. And so we came out with a really cool design that has the CBC gem on the front and our proudly made in Canada by local laundry on the back, which I'm pretty excited for. But even when we were talking with the CBC, they have they want more Canadian-made stuff, but they still have the non-Canadian-made stuff. Because there's always going to be people that complain either way.
You're right.
There's going to be people that say, why is this sweater $90? That's ridiculous. And then you're going to have people who's like, why is this $30 sweater made in China?
As a Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, why are you selling
yeah. But tell us, why you think CBC is an exciting and good partnership for local laundry.
I think there's a lot of reasons why it's a good partnership for us. I mean, when we're talking back to that article, right, this is a great example of a brand that is not in retail, right? The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, they're in television, they're in the entertainment business.
It's funny because they used to be in retail. Remember? Well, they used to have their own CBC shop, and they used to manage it all. But then I think it got too much, or there was cost cutbacks. So now they just license the CBC.
Yeah, which is probably the better approach, right? They're focusing on their core business, which is media.
Right.
So it makes complete sense. And you look at, again, these brands, here's an opportunity for a brand like ours to come in with our value alignment and collaborate on a piece with CBC where you're getting, it's mutually beneficial, right? It has to be win-win. So for CBC, they get to have their logo and they get to have a co-branded piece with local laundry, which, again, we have that kind of social entrepreneurship perspective, which I think they appreciate being aligned with. And for us, we're able to be able to put a big brand like CBC on our clothing and get some promotion from that. So it's a total win-win.
I know we've talked about this before, but would you ever want to go on the CBC's Dragon's Den?
Not against it.
What are your pros and cons?
Well, I think it's really interesting, right? So you look at the percentage of deals that actually go through, which are committed on TV. It's very small. But I also think there's still a long way for us to go. And this has always been my philosophy, is you don't want to give away too much of your company. So if you go online, go on a show like that, and even at $1 million sales, I think we're probably a lot further than a lot of people that go on Dragon's Den. But it just depends on how much you want to give up of your company. On the flip side of that, though, bringing on a dragon can do phenomenal things for your business, right? The connections that they have, the amount of influence that they have, and they can really kind of help scale and really catapult your business forward. So I think it would be a good opportunity.
Would you want to go on just for the exposure alone?
No, I don't like businesses that go on just for exposure.
Really?
I think you have to have a purpose for going there, right? So yeah, I think the exposure is fantastic if you get on the show. I have a few friends that have done it that haven't got on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I have a few friends that have done it that have got on the show, and they've obviously benefited greatly from being on the show because you get...
I wonder what the criteria is for getting on the show or not getting on the show.
It has to be good TV.
Really?
Right? That's the reality, right? It's at the end of the day, it is TV, it's entertainment. It's not about deal flow, it's about a TV show that airs well.
I think you and I think we could make good TV.
I think we could. So yeah, certainly not against it, but I've never really been strongly kind of trying to get on the show.
Going on,
but I think if the opportunity were to arise, I think it could be a good opportunity.
Which, if let's say all the dragons the current season were like, yeah, let's make a deal. Which dragon would you most want to get in on?
Ooh, I mean Michelle Romanow.
Yeah.
Obviously, with Clearbank, that's a good fit. Plus, I think she's got a pretty good background and she's well connected.
Explain what Clearbank is.
Clearbank's, I think they're one of they've raised the most amount of money, I want to say in North America, but at least in Canada for a fund. So essentially they fund e-commerce companies like Local Laundry. So if you're doing a certain amount a certain amount of revenue per month, every month, they tie into your Shopify or equivalent platform data they'll scrape it, they run it through their adjudication software, their algorithm, and it spits back out a number of what you're approved for. No personal guarantees, no collateral. You get the money, and then you pay it back over X period of time. So great opportunity for entrepreneurs who are looking to grow their companies in the e-commerce space.
So because of that, you would want...
I think that'd be a good fit, yeah. What about you?
Well, what I think is so interesting is how all three of the female dragons are all from Calgary.
It's true.
I think we would have to go with one of the Calgary ones, just so we could be close to them and really, benefit from that mentorship and those connections. I think Michelle would probably be the best fit. I mean, Manjeet, she's got more expertise in the food and alcohol world. We know Arlene Dickinson has her District Ventures Accelerator here, which is more focused on consumer packaged goods. I think, and I could be wrong, Michelle is like partnered with Endy.
I think there's a connection there. Yeah,
I think there's a connection there. So I think she would have the best.
I think Manjeet has some decent retail connections. I think Arlene.
I think they all got great.
You're
retail.
Absolutely right. I would, if any dragon offers, of course they're going to accept it. But I'd have to agree with Arlene Dickinson as well, because given her District Ventures program she's launched and everything she's done for the community, I think she'd be absolutely fantastic. And if I'm not mistaken, she went in on Tentree.
Who did?
Arlene.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They were on there.
I believe so. So I think...
I wonder if she's still involved with them.
It's a good question, right? But if there's been involvement in the past, I think it's clear that they'd have at least some experience in that area, or at least the right connections to make.
Another CBC celebrity that we met just recently, we were at the Calgary Small Business Awards, and it was hosted by none other than Calgarian Andrew Fung, who's on CBC award-winning show Kim's Convenience.
Yeah.
And Andrew was so funny.
He's a ball of fire.
We go to these events, and some of them, like, they're emceed, and some of them, like, the MCs are great, but sometimes you really it takes a lot of talent to be a really good MC, because you need to be funny, you need to keep people engaging, because at these events there's a lot of people giving speeches, and they're like, all these different events, not just saying about one or another, but like most people's speeches, they have an agenda, they got to hit all these things, and they're so boring, and we're like sitting there, and it's
so you need someone with high energy that's going to like wrap up the crowd and get everyone excited.
To keep your attention.
Completely.
But also the role of an MC is to keep the night going.
Yeah.
It was so funny. He was chirping. Nenshi, of course, was there, and Nenshi had a great speech, and he was chirping Nenshi he's like, I was we were ahead of schedule by 7 minutes before I got on. Then Nenshi came on. Now we're behind 15 minutes. And he was just the stuff, because that you could really tell is improv. He used to do stuff at like the Loose Moose Theater. But like Andrew Fung's another guy, he just got back to us today. We chatted with him after the show, and we want to get him a CBC sweater, and or maybe there's a potential even for him with his audience that we can create a sweater, and it goes back to charity, or we work out some licensing deal. There's perfect opportunity. Another example, kind of going back to what we were talking about, of a guy that has that influence and not in fashion world at all, but could benefit. The last piece I kind of want to just talk about real quick is our classic giving toque. So if you guys aren't familiar, about 3 years ago, when we started making all of our toques in Canada, we started to see a big problem with the shelters here in Calgary and across Calgary. They were running out of toques for their clients. And Calgary in Canada, of course, is known for the frigid winters, and they don't have enough toques for their clients. So we thought, why don't we see if we can do something about that? So for every toque we sell, we donate one to a homeless organization. And to date, we've donated over close to 1,000 toques to shelters in Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, Ottawa, and we want to keep that going.
Tell me what's changed about the toques this year.
So this year, the toques, the nice thing about making all your own stuff is that when you get complaints, and like, oh, I don't like the fit of this, or this is not that great, you can just change it. So all of our toques are custom cut and sew, and some of the feedback we got last year was they were too tight. And Dustin and I were kind of good test dummies, especially when it comes to hats, because I have the world's largest head and Dustin has the world's smallest head, so it's always kind of a good barometer for hats. And but we got some feedback that they're a little too tight, a little too small. So this year we made them an inch longer and an inch wider. So for every toque we sell, we're going to donate one to a homeless organization. So I'm really excited about these. This year we only came out with them in 2 colors. I think what we want to do, instead, last year we came out with like 5 colors in each, and it was like we just ran out of so many different colors, and pissed off a lot of our stores. Like, hey, these colors did really well. I want more, but these ones did not. And we're like, oh, we don't have any more. Right. So I think what we're gonna do is every year come out with a new color, right? And this year, instead of doing the local laundry brand, we went back to the classic YYC design, classic can design. I really like these. I'm really excited.
I love them. Incredibly warm. I wear it outside every day. Huge fan.
One thing we got to do, we should probably get on it sooner rather than later, is we need to create new hang tags for them.
You're right.
I was at the UFC store. We just launched at the UFC bookstore. Super pumped, super excited with a exclusive red and gold sweater for them. But we sent them 24 toques, and they didn't have any hang tags. They had none, and I think it was because, well, I don't know what it was because, but our hang tags don't tell the story at all about the giving aspect.
So we could do a better job of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I might do is I might reach out to shout out to PTI Graphics, they're a local supplier, keep it local. Johnny Boy. I might reach out to them and get them to create a custom hang tag just for the toques.
Deal.
Okay. Well, we're reaching 35, 36 minutes. Anything else you want to add? What are you most looking forward to? We're almost heading right into Black Friday and holidays.
Right into the busy holiday season. I've already started the Christmas music, so the tree is going to be soon to follow, and we're going to start to celebrate Christmas in this house. So I fully expect that we'll start to see a lot of those holiday orders start to roll in. I mean, Black Friday is coming up in 3 weeks here.
We have our first ever ugly Christmas sweater in production right now.
Yes, we're doing an ugly Christmas sweater.
We partnered with Cavalry, and we got a really nice ugly Christmas sweater coming out with them. Unfortunately, the boys couldn't take it home. They are not national champs. Very close. They did a great season.
Did a great year.
But yeah, those sweaters are in production. They're going to be ready first week of December. They're going to be on sale at the holiday market in Spruce Meadows. I'm really excited for those.
Super cool. So yeah, we're excited for a busy holiday season. We always have busy holiday season. Obviously, anyone retail. So we're pretty excited for that. As a business, it definitely helps with our cash flow because we recuperate a lot of the cash that we've invested into our inventory and into our new products. So hopefully we have a busy retail season, and that just kind of sets us up to start a strong 2020 and beyond.
That's crazy because then just January, February, it's just dead. We're like,
oh, of course.
Are we ever going to sell a sweater ever again? But yeah, we got lots of markets coming up.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more in the next episode. Hopefully you guys, if any of you guys know how to get an podcast on iTunes, I've been struggling. I can't get it up on iTunes. We keep getting rejected. I got to spend some time and
we'll get there.
But we've had good positive feedback. Or hopefully get some guests on the show pretty quickly.
If anyone's actually listening to this, we'd love to hear your thoughts, good or bad.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want to hear. If there's anything we've left out, or if we're talking too much about something, we'd love to hear your feedback.
Let us know if you bought those pie tops. Dustin, take us out.
Thanks for stopping by. This has been a local laundry broadcast from Studio B. My name is Dustin Paisley.
And my name's Connor Kern.
And we'll see you next time.
Love you.